Welcome to our class today. The only prop that you might need is a pillow or a blanket, and otherwise you should be good. So today our theme also from the Yoga Sutras, as we've been working with for this session so far. And in the Yoga Sutras, we don't know really if it was a he or a they that put it together, but the idea that um, leading us toward things that will be helpful and leading us away from things that will be unhelpful. And one of the things that's always unhelpful is what's called the kleshas, and there are 5 of them. We're going to look at the two sort of that have been most relevant for me today. So kleshas are kind of ways that we interact with the world that are not helpful. And the more we can eliminate the kleshas, the more at ease or peace we will be, according to the sutras anyway. So the 2 that we're going to look at today are 2 sides of the same kind of coin. So one is called in English clinging. In Sanskrit it's raga, and the other is aversion, pushing away. And that is dvesha, D-E-V-S-A in Sanskrit. So raga, dvesha, clinging and aversion. And this is the idea that when there are aspects of life that we have no control over, we still tend to tense up. We want things to be differently, right? We tense up around wanting something, or we tense up around not wanting something, pushing it away. And it's not the wanting that's the problem. Wanting is fine. There's nothing wrong with wanting. It's that clinging to this idea that I should be able to have what I want, and it's not fair. And it's that clinging that creates tension and creates suffering. It's not the wanting that creates suffering. So for instance, yesterday I really wanted to go see my mom. It's a long drive to go, stand outside 10 feet away from her. And even then it's a little risky and not what we're supposed to be doing. So I chose not to go visit her, but I really, really wanted to. And it felt really good to want to see my mom, to really want to be with her. And when I could let go of the idea that, yeah, that's not going to happen. I FaceTimed with her, so I got to see her, which isn't something she does often. My sister was there and helped her out with that. So I got to see her a little bit. It wasn't the same as if I got to really hang out with her, but the wanting was okay. It's when we get into that mode of this isn't fair, why me, that it becomes a problem. And I was able to just take a deep breath and accept, after a moment of going, this really sucks, to accept that this is the way it is, and that we may not be able to see the end of this. We're in the middle of a kind of a confusing and difficult time, but we don't need to make it more difficult by wishing things were different and creating a lot of tension around that. Maybe that's not what you do in this situation, but we all do at times engage with that. I don't want that. We push it away and we bring into our mind all the reasons we don't want that. And what happens is we're actually so focused on that thing we don't want that we tend to invite it in even more. Right? And things that we want that we can't have, like all this frustration around I can't have what I want, or I can't do what I want to do, all of that. If we can't change it, the suffering comes from clinging. Right? So there's nothing wrong with wanting things, right? Desire is a beautiful gift that we have. But when we create tension around not being able to have it, that's when we create issues. All right, so we're going to start lying down, and as I mentioned, having a pillow or a blanket to support your head would likely be helpful today. So I'll see you on the mat, and you can lie down on your back to begin with. So coming to lie down and finding a comfortable position. So what I didn't mention actually is we're going to focus on twisting today. So when we're twisting, you really want to think about lengthening the spine. It's a little less relevant on the ground, but when we come to sit or stand, it will be a little more relevant. But also this idea of twisting or kind of wringing out the tension, letting go of some of those things that we've been clinging to or trying to push away that we really have no control over. And so metaphorically kind of wringing out some of that stuff that's creating tension for us. Let's start with a little bit of a check-in. So being comfortable, legs can be bent or straight, the hands can rest on your body or on the ground. And take a moment to notice how your body feels today. Just notice what is present. Feel the sensations of your body being connected to the ground, being supported by the ground. You might be aware of your periphery, the edges or outside of your body, where your body meets the environment around you. So noticing pressure, like from the ground or maybe your hands on your body, noticing temperature. Any sensations on the outer part of your body, the skin, the pressure. And then also becoming aware of what's happening internally. What are you aware of within your body, in your joints or your organs, your muscles? And if you encounter areas of pain or discomfort in your body, this is a perfect time to practice our theme today of you can simply notice. Right? Often when we notice there's pain, we immediately try to push it away or we tense up to try to resist that pain. See if you can simply notice if there's areas of pain or tightness or discomfort. Can you simply notice them without the desire to change anything? Notice also areas of your body that feel open, that feel relaxed, that feel at ease without the desire for it to always be this way. Can we enjoy that feeling of openness or ease right now, in this moment, without clinging? I'm going to invite you into a little practice of noticing what we desire or what we want and letting that go. So you can just allow whatever desire or want pops up into your mind. And then as you exhale, imagine letting it go, just letting it dissipate, releasing. Just watching these waves of desire. What comes to you is something you want, and can you simply be with that wanting without needing to have, without clinging? And then exhaling, let all of that go. And we'll start with some simple movement just to warm up the spine a little bit. So you can bring the knees up in toward your chest and bring one hand to each knee. And we'll draw the knees in toward the body. You can exhale as you do that. And then inhale as you move the knees away. Exhale, letting go, softening. Inhale, coming into the fullness of the breath without forcing or straining. Exhaling to let go. A few more breaths, go at your own pace. Notice how your body feels as you start to bring in a little movement. And then feel free to vary the movement. So you might enjoy some circles, or maybe a rocking side to side, or just squeezing the knees in. Maybe taking the knees apart and drawing in, or circling the knees separately. So just take a moment to gently move through the hips and back a little bit to start to warm up. Right, and then you can stretch the arms and legs up toward the ceiling, circle the ankles and wrists. Keep the knees soft so you're not straining at all. Circle one way, circle the other way. And you can give the arms and legs a shake. And then gradually bend the knees back into the chest. And we'll let the feet come to the floor. You can bring the hands onto the body, and we'll do a little bit of almost like a cat-cow lying down. So as you inhale, you're letting the back arch, letting the belly expand. As you exhale, you're pressing into your feet. The tailbone curls up, the lower back flattens. Inhale, arching, exhale, flattening or even rounding a little. A couple more breaths like that. And then you can allow the arms to release to the floor, and after your next exhale, you can start to slowly lift the hips, and it might be just an inch or two, or it might be coming up onto the back of the shoulders, and then lowering down. Take your time. Don't worry about how to breathe here. Just breathe as feels right for you. As long as you're breathing, you can take your time, gradually lifting. So it's just a little movement for the spine, peeling the spine up, rolling it back down, checking in that that is comfortable for you as you lift and lower. Tuning into what you notice, what you discover, making sure that your neck feels comfortable as well as the rest of your spine, and then gradually coming down to the ground. And I should say, if you've got that blanket under your head now and your head is lifted a little, you might find that it's too much flexion on the neck when you lift the hips up. So try and bridge without the support under your head if you find that there's any tension with it. Great, so let's come back down now and let the body settle. And keep the arms out to your sides, a little bit on the ground. We're going to work with a gentle twist, taking the head first side to side. So taking the neck, turning the head one way and then the other way. And see if you can stay noticing and tuned into what you feel in your neck. Notice when you get to the side, where it is that you feel is enough stretch, enough twist, not overdoing it. Side to side a couple more times. You can go just a little side to side or quite a bit. So starting at the top of the spine with that twisting motion. And then gradually bring your head back to the center. And we'll take the arms and stretch them up toward the ceiling. Lift the shoulder blades a little to feel some space in your upper back. And then let the shoulder blades sink down, maintaining that little bit of space. Bend your elbows, cross your arms, and bring your hands to opposite elbows. And now as we move the head and twist the head from side to side, we're also going to move the thoracic spine or the upper back. So your head and your elbows are going to go the same way. And then back to center, going the same way, other direction. And back to center. So you might feel the stretch now, or the twist moving not just in the neck, but down into the upper back as well. So again, try to stay connected and tuned into what you experience. I mentioned earlier, if you feel pain, to see if you can relax and be with that pain rather than pushing it away. But when we're doing movement, if you find that you're moving into painful places, my suggestion is to back off rather than to push into it, except in certain circumstances where there may be arthritis or other conditions where movement is good for you, but it may be nonetheless a little bit painful. Let's come back to the center now. And now, if you like, you can move the knees one way as you take the arms and the head the other way. So bringing the twist into the lower back as well. If it feels like too much, I would suggest releasing the arms and just letting the legs go side to side. So really tuning in what feels best for your body. How can you move in this twist in a way that feels good, doesn't feel like a strain or too much? And honoring whatever arises for you. So eventually we're going to return to the center. And here's where you're going to appreciate having a blanket or a pillow here. And I'm going to fold my blanket so it's quite thick. And if you're on a mat, you might want to make a little shift as we go onto our side so you stay on your mat. So I'm going to shift my hips a couple of inches to the right and bring my knees down to the left. And that kind of keeps me in the middle of the mat. I'm going to roll right onto my left side and use my blanket to fill the space underneath my head so that my shoulder doesn't get crunched here. And then adjust my mic and hopefully you can still hear me. And then your left hand will be on the bottom if you've rolled to your left. Right hand will be on top, and the arms are reaching straight out from your shoulders out to the side. So from here, we're going to reach the top hand a little beyond the bottom hand. So you're reaching your fingertips past your bottom hand. Then we're going to make a little bit of a circle, actually a big circle overhead on the floor. So your right hand is going to trace a circle coming up to the space over your head. You may want to bend your elbow as you come over your head, especially if you have any issues with your shoulders. You can allow the right shoulder to move toward the ground as you come into a twist from here. The right arm will keep lowering down towards the hip, and you'll roll back onto your side as you bring the hands back together. Reaching with your fingertips a little further away, and then tracing a circle over your head, maybe bending the elbow. I find it helpful as it comes overhead. You're going to move the right shoulder toward the right. So you're coming into a bit of a twist. Arm comes down, across, and back to meet the other hand. So you can do a few more circles like that. You start neutral with the spine. Halfway through, you end up twisting, and then back to neutral onto your side. Good. Maybe one more here. And then when you start your next circle, as you come halfway through the circle, you'll be in that twist with the arms opposite each other. You can roll right back onto your back, and you may need to shift back to center again. If you're not on a mat, it doesn't really matter. If you roll across your floor with this, it's no big deal. And then we're going to shift the other way. So you can shift your hips a little bit to the left side, and then you're going to roll over to the right side. So again, make sure that you've got something under your head to fill that space so you're protecting your shoulder. The two hands come together, straight out from your chest. You'll reach the top hand a little away. Breathe into the space between your shoulder blades here. And then we'll draw that circle. So left hand now, fingertips sliding over the floor. Bending the elbow if that's more comfortable as you come overhead, letting the shoulder move toward the left as the upper body twists. The arm comes down, across, and you can pause there and reach out again. Maybe take a breath or two there, and then making your circle. And you can continue a few more circles at your own pace. So you might find that you come into a big twist with the left shoulder coming to the ground, or you might find that it's nowhere near the ground. All of those options are just fine. As long as your shoulder is comfortable, it's not feeling like it's being tweaked or pulled as you come around. So I find bending my elbow really helps as I come around, and then I can straighten it as I go. Let's do one more here. And then the last time, as you're coming overhead, when you get into that open position with the arms opposite each other, you can again roll onto your back, maybe shift back onto your mat if you've shifted in that transition. You'll come back to a position lying on your back, and then you may or may not want this support under your head here, so you can decide if you want it or want it smaller or not at all. And then from here, knees into the chest. And we can move forward and back again, inhaling as the knees move away, exhaling as you draw the knees in. Wonderful. Give yourself a little hug, squeezing in for a few breaths. Great, and then we're going to shift over to sitting. So you can bring your feet to the floor, roll over onto your side again, this time rolling right over to bring your hand to the ground to support you to come upright. So we'll sit for a moment. If you want to sit on a chair, that's absolutely perfectly fine. If you want to sit on that blanket or cushion that you were using for support, that's also great, or whatever is handy for you. The main thing when you're sitting is that your spine feels like it's in its natural shape. So it's nice and long. You're not having to slump over to maintain an upright position. So if that means sitting on a chair with your feet on the floor, absolutely, by all means do that. If you're sitting on the ground and your knees are up here, this is going to be very, very difficult for you to get a long spine, because as the knees come up, the spine naturally tends to round. So much better to be sitting on a chair or the edge of your bed or a couch or whatever is handy rather than the floor if you're feeling rounded at all. So we're going to again start with the simple twist starting at the top of the spine and moving down. So we have 4 sections to the spine: the neck or cervical spine, the thoracic spine or sort of upper back area, the lower back or lumbar spine, and then we have the sacrum and coccyx, which is the bottom part of the spine below the waist. So we're going to primarily be looking at the first 3 as we twist. So taking the head, turning it to one side, and with your eyes looking all the way behind you as far as you can. Imagine you could look right to the center behind you. Great, and then come back. Maybe you can see right to the center behind you. I always suspected my mother and my grade school teachers could do that. You need to turn the other way. Let your eyes continue. So you're twisting with your neck as well as extending that twist with your gaze. Great. And we'll come back to the center again. Let's turn the head to the side, and we'll make a little sweeping motion. So your chin comes down and over to the other side and then back again. So follow your own rhythm here. There's no need to breathe any special way. Just keep breathing. Now, if you like, you can make that into a full circle. You want to be cautious always not to let your head fall back. So one way that I like to think about this is imagine if there were a clock face in front of you, you're running your nose along the numbers of the clock to create a circle. So you're not looking up at the ceiling, but following that circle around, and you can also go counterclockwise as well. Great, and then let's come back to the center. And we'll take the hands onto the shoulders, if as long as that's comfortable for your shoulders. If not, you can just leave the arms down or bring them onto your waist. But this brings attention to the upper part of the spine in the thoracic area. So that's from the neck to the bottom of your rib cage, this area. And we're going to work with using our core muscles to create this twist, not using force or leverage by using the hands. So nice long spine, and then turning without leaning, twisting to one side and then back to center, and twisting to the other side and back to center. So we're not twisting the lower body, just as if the rib cage were independent of your hips, and you're gently taking it side to side. Again, don't worry about your breathing unless you're tending to hold your breath. You can just breathe normally, but if you're tending to hold your breath, you might slow it down a little more. Exhale to the side. Inhale to the center. Exhale to the side. Inhale, center. And this helps when you exhale to the side, you're engaging your abdominal muscles, and that helps to bring you into the twist. Great. One more to either side. Great. And let's come back to the center. We'll bring the hands down to the knees. If you need to stretch your legs out at any point, if they're falling asleep, do that. And we're going to come into a movement of a cat and a cow. So inhaling to arch, that's like the cow. If we were doing this on hands and knees, exhale like a cat. Inhale. Exhale. Moving at your own pace here. Excuse me. And then coming back to a neutral spine, we're going to remove whatever we're sitting on. So just take out your blanket or cushion or pillow or whatever is there. Bring your legs out in front. And again, if they've fallen asleep, wake them up. If you were sitting on a chair or on the bed or a couch, you probably want to come down to the floor for this one. So you can use your hands to support you from behind. Bring your feet to the floor a little bit wider than your shoulders. So they're actually fairly wide. And then start to move the knees to one side and then to the other. So this gets a little more into the lower part of the spine. And you want to make sure that your shoulders are comfortable. So the shoulder, especially the one you're moving away from with the twist, if you find that it gets kind of wrenched back there, you can always release that hand as the knees come toward the ground. And the more you bring the knees to the ground, the more stretch you're going to feel in that shoulder. So I just like to release the arm a little bit so that I'm really allowing my hips and my back to turn here. You can add more of a twist if you like as we go by releasing that back arm all the way, bringing it around to the space behind you. You can use it to press against the ground and lift your spine tall. And then you'll release to the other side. Use the hand on the ground or even on your leg to, both hands can help lift the spine tall. So we get a bit of a twist and a little bit of a side bend. You might feel the side of your body getting a little stretch as well as twisting here. Maybe one more to either side. Right, eventually we'll make our way back to the center. From here, you can cross your legs and come forward onto your hands and knees, or swing your legs around to one side to come to hands and knees. However you want to get there is fine. And then hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. And we'll work with the cat-cow now. So let your elbows be soft, chest comes forward, the head follows the arc of your spine, so it's not cranked back or hanging forward. And then as you exhale, you can round your back, and again, let the head really release and come down here. Inhale, soften your elbows, draw the shoulders back. Exhale, rounding. You can stay with this movement, or if you prefer, instead of just rounding your back, you can also add child's pose to your exhale for a little more length in your spine. And then if you like, you can come up into downward dog. This is totally optional. If it feels like too much for your shoulders or wrists, stay with cat-cow. If downward dog feels good for you, you can come up for a few breaths. I would recommend to keep your knees a little bent at first, just to keep lots of length in the spine. You can flow through from downward dog back to all fours to child's pose, maybe back to child's pose, or back to downward dog. If you want to stay in downward dog and walk on the spot a few times to start to release and open the back of the legs, feel free. Really honor your shoulders and wrists. So if it feels like too much, you're going to come right to all fours. Continue with cat-cow or come to child's pose, perhaps. So a little more movement here, and do feel free to rest in child's pose if that feels good for you. You can give your wrists a break, maybe do a little wrist movement in between while you're resting. And then we're going to come back to all fours. And if squatting is something that your knees and ankles approve of, you can come into a squat. Otherwise, just come to a standing forward bend by maybe stepping your feet under you. So either way, either coming first to a squat and then lifting the hips to come to a forward bend, or you can step your feet forward and come to a forward bend. So keep your knees soft. You can let your arms hang or cross your arms or bring your elbows up onto your thighs if you like. Head heavy, neck relaxed, whatever position works for you. If it feels better to keep your spine longer and be more upright, that's also an option. And then from wherever you find yourself, you can bend your knees a little more, let your arms be heavy, keeping the head down until the end will uncurl to roll upright. So as you come upright, you're coming into mountain pose, or in Sanskrit, Tadasana. Your feet are roughly parallel to one another, as long as that's comfortable. Most of us tend to stand with the feet slightly turned out. Try turning the feet so that they point straight ahead and see how that feels. So what happens when we turn the feet out, we tend to kind of jam up in the sacral area, down in the lower part of the spine, the sacroiliac joints. Sometimes you might feel pinching on one or the other side of your buttocks, which is often that sacroiliac joint being a little bit out of alignment. If you can take your hand palms onto your sacrum, so the sacrum is just below the waist. So if the heels of your hands are on your waist and one hand is just on either side, you're roughly over your sacroiliac joints. And then you can try turning your feet out and seeing how that feels in that area. And then Go the opposite, turn your feet in and see what happens. And then come back to neutral. So for me, it feels quite different in each position. You may not notice much difference for you. It sort of depends on how your bones are structured and aligned. But the idea is that as we bring the feet in, we kind of open up a little more space in that lower back area, the back of the pelvis. And then from there, from the back of the pelvis, feel your sit bones. You may not feel them, but know they're there, just at the very bottom of your pelvis, so a little lower than where we were. You can bring your hands there if you like. And from there down, we want to imagine roots going into the earth. So the energy down the back of the body is downward into the earth. And then draw up on your thighs as you send your weight into your heels. Your thighs will naturally engage. The belly naturally gently engages. The chest lifts and the shoulders drop down. So you can imagine energy flowing up the front of the body, coming over the head, and energy drawing down, cascading down your back into the heels, into the earth. As you inhale, energy comes up the front of the body. As you exhale, down the back of the body. So see if you can feel that circuit of energy connecting you to the earth. Inhaling, feeling this lifting through the front of the body. Exhaling, a kind of sinking and settling into the ground. A couple more breaths like that. So we get to feel a little lighter, a little more lifted, as well as being grounded and stable here. So we're going to do a fun little twist here that starts with the head, ends with the feet, and it's kind of like a spiral. The eyes are involved as well. So we're going to start by turning. In fact, you can look to the right or look to whichever side you want to go first. Look to that side and then turn your head and keep looking as far as you can behind you. You'll get to a point where your head won't turn anymore. Don't force it. Let your shoulders start to turn. And then the rib cage turns. As the hips start to turn, you're going to have to probably move your feet a little bit so that you're not bothering your knees or ankles. So you can start to walk in a circle. Keep your head and eyes leading the way. Slowly turning, turning, turning. Eventually, your eyes are going to come back to the point where you started. When your eyes meet the point where you started, you'll leave them there. As you keep turning, the head will line up with your eyes. As you keep turning, your shoulders line up with your head. As you keep turning, your hips start to line up with your shoulders, and then eventually your legs and feet come back around to where you started. So it's like a spiral, right? All the way down. We'll go the other way. So start by looking with your eyes, and then let your head go. When your head has gone as far as it comfortably can, the shoulders start to go. And then around the waist, the hips. As the hips start to turn, you're going to start to walk in a circle. Your eyes are kind of pulling you around. And the body is spiraling along with your eyes. Eventually, your eyes will come back to the point where you started. And then you'll line up under your eyes or with your eyes. So the head will come around. And then the shoulders will come around. Right, so we stop twisting and kind of line up under the head, the waist, the hips, and eventually the legs and feet. Come back to your starting position. So we went one way and then the other. We're going to do each direction one more time, now that you know how it works. So you can turn with your eyes, with your head, with your shoulders, your rib cage, as your hips start to turn, the legs need to move. So keep leading with your head, with your eyes. When your eyes meet the point where you started, they'll stay there. Your head will eventually come to meet your eyes. Your shoulders will eventually come to meet your head. And then your hips line up, legs line up, feet line up. And then one more spiral the other way. So eyes, you can start with your head center, eyes go. And then the head, shoulders, rib cage, hips. And then starting to follow by walking in a circle. Your feet are trying to catch up to your eyes. Eventually, you're looking back where you started. The head comes around. The shoulders come around. The rib cage comes around. Eventually, the hips, the legs, and the feet. Big breath. Exhale. From here, turning the palms out, we'll lift the arms up overhead, breathing in. As you exhale, bend your knees and come forward. Letting that twist go now. Inhale to lift. Exhale, come forward. We'll add a half forward bend this time. So you can bring your hands to your shins and lengthen as you breathe in, and then exhale to fold. Inhale, coming up. And let's repeat. So all the way down with your next exhale. Inhale, hands to shins, lengthening. Exhale, fold. Inhale, coming all the way up. We'll repeat that one more time. Exhale, releasing forward. Inhale, half forward bend. Exhale, release. Inhale, lifting. And exhale to release again. Take the feet wide now. A little wider than your shoulders. In fact, the wider the legs are, the more you have to reach for the twist if you're adding the forward bend. So if you want more challenge, go a little wider. Soften your knees so you're not tempted to lock them. So I don't know if you can see this if you're looking at the screen, but when I lock my knees, my pelvis tends to kind of just hang down and I tend to kind of collapse in the shoulders. As soon as I bend my knees, I kind of feel much freer in the upper body. So find that freedom however it works for you. For me, it's a little bend in the knees. For you, it might be legs a little closer or a little further apart. You take the arms to the side. So the first version of this twist, the easiest version, is to take one hand across in front, one hand across in back, and turn to look over the shoulder of the arm that's behind you. And then you'll come back to the center. So you inhale here, exhale, twist, will alternate sides. Now, if you want to add to this, if you want more, one arm still goes back behind, but the other one is going to reach for the leg instead of the hip. And it could be the thigh, the knee, the calf, the ankle, the foot, or the floor. You come back up the same way, breathing in, and then over to the other side. So whichever version, whichever option works for you, a few more at your own pace. If you like, you can stay for a couple of breaths. So bringing the hand to the leg or to the thigh or being upright. And then if it feels good for you, you might even take the arm behind you for a couple of breaths. You can certainly bend the knee, especially the one that you're moving towards. And eventually switching sides. So you can bend that knee a little, gives your hand a little shelf to rest on. But certainly if you're more flexible and you want to reach further down, you're welcome to do that as well. Coming back to the center. Good, let's release the arms down. And we'll do a forward bend from here. So lifting up. Good, this time sweeping the arms down, palms up onto the back, lower back as you come forward, soft knees. And again, inhale to lift. Exhale forward, softening wherever you can soften here. And coming upright again, releasing down with the arms. And step or walk your feet in towards each other. Let's take the hands onto the hips. You can maybe even move your feet just a little bit apart here to do a few circles. And see if you can really feel the hip joints as you circle. So the hip is a ball and socket joint. As you move around the circle, and I know this is true for me, it might be true for you, it might not. There are areas of the circle that feel smooth, that feel easy, and then there are other areas that feel a little clunky, maybe even not as quite as comfortable. For me, it's not painful, so if it's painful for you, you may want to make your movements a smaller circle or really explore up to where it feels painful. Notice that and then reverse. So play around and notice what's present. Can you notice without clinging or trying to push away? You might be saying, oh, my hips feel really good today. I want them to always feel like this. Or, oh, my hips feel really tight today. I hate that. I want that to stop. Right? Can we just be with what is? And eventually coming back to the center. And now you can bring the feet in again. And let's pause for a moment again. Feel your heels go down. Feel the energy pull up the front of the body. And then down the back of the body for a couple of breaths. Breathing in, lifting up through the front of the body. Exhaling, feel that energy drawing down the back of your body into the heels, into the ground. One more breath. So from here, you're going to step forward with, I'm going to do the left foot. If you follow me, the instructions will make sense left and right. If not, you can just reverse my instructions. So left foot forward. You want to turn the right foot out enough to be comfortably solid on the ground. And then from there, more or less the hips pointing back towards the direction that your front foot is pointing, bending your knee as if for warrior. We're going to take the arms up just in front. And we'll move into a version of warrior two. So you're going to take your right arm, you're going to swing it down. As it passes your leg, you're going to start to open the palm forward and start to turn the hips and shoulders to the side. Reach out with your arms. Check down that your left knee hasn't rotated in, so it's still over your left ankle. And then we'll come back. So as the arm comes down, as it passes the leg, you're going to start to turn the hips, turn the hand in, shoulders and hips come back toward the front. Then we'll do the other side. So your left arm is going to go back, so we're going to end up coming into a twist. This time we're not going to turn the hand. So as the arm goes back, the hand stays pointing to the right. As it passes your leg, you're going to start to turn your shoulders towards the left. So now your right hand is facing left, your left hand is facing right, same as they were when the arms were in front. Reach out with your hands as if someone's pulling you from either direction. Good. And then come back to the center. Lift both arms up, breathing in. Good. Exhale, come forward. You can bring your hands onto your knee. Lengthen your spine. Take a few breaths here, and if you want to go a little further, you can take the hands to the shin, or if you've got blocks, or if the ground is accessible, you can come into the forward bend there. So whatever version is best for you. Take a few breaths wherever you are. And then we'll lift all the way up, breathing in. And as you exhale, arms come out in front, and we'll repeat that series again. So right arm drops down. As it passes your leg, you start to open the arm, open the hips and shoulders to the side and reach out. Make sure your left knee is over your ankle. And then as you're ready to come back, as the arm passes the leg again, you'll start to turn the palm in, turn the hips and shoulders towards the front, coming back to that first position. Left arm is going to roll down. Squeeze the upper thighs towards each other. As the arm goes back, the palm stays facing away from you or to the right. Reach out with your hands and breathe. Bring the arm down slowly. You're bringing the shoulders back toward the front, reaching up with both arms. And exhale, come forward to whatever version of this forward bend works best for you. If it feels really tight in the back of your leg, you can bend and straighten the leg a little as you hang out here. Try to let your head release. Come all the way up, breathing in. Exhaling to release your arms, and you can step your feet back together. You probably feel a little bit lopsided right now, as I do. We'll even things up, or at least attempt to, by working with the other side. So your right foot will step forward now. Left foot turns out enough so that you can be comfortably, solidly planted. Bending your front knee so it's over your ankle. And then you'll lift the arms straight up in front. And then we'll be turning to the left this time. So the left arm comes down. As it passes your leg, you start to open the arm. Turn the hips and shoulders to the side. Any amount, whatever's comfortable, and reach out. Look down, your right knee should be right over your right ankle. Swinging the arm back down. Start to turn the hips and shoulders again toward the front. And then we'll go the other way. So now the right arm goes back without rotating. And you're going to turn, squeezing the thighs towards each other, reaching out with your hands. And then come back. Reach up, breathing in. Exhale, forward. Again, any version of this forward bend that suits you right now. Staying for a few breaths. Again, you could bend and straighten a little bit with the front leg if you're feeling locked or tight there. When you're ready, come all the way up with the breath in. Exhaling, arms come forward again. We'll drop the left arm, opening it as it comes to the side, and we start to open the shoulders and hips to the side so both palms are facing the same way in this sort of twist. It's not much of a twist, but a little bit. The big twist comes from the other side, so we're going to bring the arm down, rotate the hand in to come back, and then taking the right arm, sliding it straight back, starting to turn in that direction. You don't have to lift the arm all the way up if that's hard on the shoulder. If you can, great, reach it up and reach as if someone's pulling you back and forward at the same time. Breathing. It's a lot of effort, actually. And sliding the arm slowly down, turning back toward the front. lifting up with the breath in and coming forward as you exhale. Again, any version of this forward bend for a few breaths. We'll come all the way up with a breath in. Exhale, release the arms. Step back, feet together. And we're going to make our way back down to all fours. We'll do a couple forward bends and then get back on hands and knees. So taking a breath in here, reaching up. Exhale, flowing forward. And repeat that a few times. Going at your own breath rhythm. Try to let your head relax each time you come forward. And keep the spine nice and long as you lift and lower. Eventually coming into the forward bend and staying for a couple of breaths. And then you can walk either to downward dog or to kneeling, squatting, eventually finding your way to all fours. It really doesn't matter how you get there, as long as it's comfortable for you. And then inhale, arch. Exhale, moving to child's pose or whatever version works for you. Maybe hips are up a little higher, elbows on the ground. And take a few breaths wherever you find yourself. See if you're able to feel some expansion in the back of your body. Almost like you can massage the muscles of your back with your breath. If it feels better or good to keep moving, go ahead and do a little more movement with cat-cow. So we really want to make sure that we're bringing the spine and all of the supporting muscles back to a place where they feel even and aligned before we move into Shavasana, which we will do shortly. So take your time with this movement. If you feel like you've had enough, you'll come onto your back next. If you're really enjoying child's pose and the movement from all fours, take a little longer. But as you're ready, you'll take your time and come down onto your back. And then knees to chest, any movement that would feel good. Often we do a bit more twisting before Shavasana. I'm going to leave that out today, just simply because we've been doing twisting through much of the class. So we really want to come back to alignment. So this forward and back movement is helpful. You could also extend the arms and legs as you breathe in and then draw them into the chest as you exhale, if you like that option. And then with your knees to your chest, you can take the knees wide, rock a little side to side, either holding the knees or you could reach for the ankles or the feet if that's accessible, which is happy baby pose. But holding the knees is a really nice option here too if happy baby is not accessible to you. Right, and then eventually I'm going to bring the feet back to the floor. And if there's other movements or if you want to stretch out, do anything else with your body before we come to Shavasana, please feel free and take your time. And then when you're ready, you can allow yourself to come to whatever position is comfortable. So could be lying with the knees bent, could be legs straight. If you like, you're welcome to sit for Shavasana. That's not usually a popular choice, but it is an option. So take your time, make whatever adjustments you need to be comfortable. So as you come to quiet, to stillness, just take a moment to tune into your breath, feeling the rise and fall of your breath without effort, without forcing. So we're going to bring awareness to the spine, which we've been working with a lot today, as we notice the sensations around the spine from our twisting and movement today. So if we think of the head as an extension of the spine, become aware of the feeling of pressure in the back of your head. So ideally your head is in line with your spine, so your nose is pointing straight up. And drop down into the back of your head. Feel the weight, feel the pressure, feel the support. And as you trace in your mind the back of the head, so as you come toward the neck, the head moves away from the ground, it curves away from the ground. So you come to this place called these two bones, the occipital bones at the base of your skull where the neck starts. And for probably all of you or most of you, your neck won't actually be touching the ground. So you'll feel how the neck curves away from the ground. And just take a moment to notice. You don't have to do anything here. Just notice, what do I feel in my neck? It could be pleasant, it could be unpleasant, it could be neutral, it could be completely numb. You may not have access to any sensation there right now. So all of that is really normal. Notice. Is there tension? How does your neck feel? The muscles, the spine. What are you aware of? Can you notice without trying to push anything away or change anything? And then we'll come down to an awareness of the thoracic spine from the shoulders to the bottom of the rib cage. For most people, this is an outward curve or a convex curve. So you probably feel at least some of this part of your spine on the ground. Notice what you're aware of, what sensations are present between your shoulders and the bottom part of your rib cage. The diaphragm is in this area, one of the muscles that supports your breath. So you may feel a little movement with your breath here. And then letting that go. Let your awareness come down to the lower back, so the area between the bottom of your rib cage and the top of your hips. This small, often troublesome area, the lumbar spine. So noticing what's present there for you right now. What are you aware of without trying to change anything, without pushing or pulling. Noticing whatever sensations you're aware of. Great, and then letting that go. Feel the back of your pelvis. So for everyone, you'll feel some pressure in the back of your pelvis if you're lying down. And most likely what you're feeling is pressure on the sacrum. See if you can soften a little and just let your weight sink into the sacrum. Notice whatever sensations are present around the sacrum, the muscles, the bones. And then the tailbone, that last little part of the spine that curls around up towards the ceiling if you're lying down. You may or may not be aware of the tailbone. It comes off the bottom of the sacrum. And notice any sensations in that area, down at the very lowest part of your spine. And then let that go. Feel down the back of the legs, softening the hamstrings, calves, the heels, the soles of your feet. And then we'll soften up the front of the body, softening the tops of the feet, the shins, softening the knees, the front of the thighs, and softening in the front of the pelvis between the hip bones, lower abdominal area, softening around the solar plexus between the hips and the ribs. Softening the front of the heart and the rib cage. Relaxing the shoulders and the arms and the hands. Softening the front of the throat, the jaw, and the face. I'd like to share with you a chant that we've been using for our Wednesday evening meditations, and it's a reminder of our wholeness. A reminder that we're complete and full, just like the full moon. Even when we can't see the moon or all of the moon, it's all there. Even when we feel fragmented, we feel lost, separate from ourselves and others, there is a basic wholeness, a basic fullness, that deepest part of ourselves that can't be broken, our spirit. And it's that part of us that's absolutely connected with nature, with each other, with all that is. There's no separation. We are whole, we're connected. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So as you're ready, if you're ready to come out of Shavasana, you can start to deepen your breath and add a little bit of movement, fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. Take your time. If you are ready and want to come back to sitting, you can roll to your side and come upright. If you want to rest a little more and stay where you are, that's totally fine. I invite you to take this theme out into your day, into your week, noticing when you start to tense up around wanting something or not wanting something, and checking in as to whether or not you can actually change or control the situation at all. And if not, our work is to soften and to let go. And if we can change it, by all means, put your effort into creating that positive change for yourself. But so much right now is out of our control. And so many of us are so tensed up around that if we can find a little softness around the things we can't control, we can find a little more ease and a little more peace in our daily lives. Namaste.